that's a good one. Can I?
Thank you.
All right. What does that say on the other side?
Move to amend.
Got it. Thank you.
That she had trouble healing, and I said, well, Toby came to me with green.
Very bad. Welcome to City Hall on behalf of the Money Out Voters in Coalition, Common Cause. We have a great roster of speakers today. My name's Lauren Windsor. Some of you may know me as Lady Libertine. I was part of the Occupy LA media team. I blog at ladylibertine.net, and I also host a web show on the Young Turks Network called The Undercurrent. Thank you. It's my honor and a privilege to introduce Mary Beth Fielder, the host of today's event. She was absolutely integral in passing the City Hall resolution last year, which led to our important victory this past Wednesday to get ballot initiative on the 2013 mayoral ticket. Aunt Julie spearheaded that effort with Rebecca Doten, who, if everyone could give it up for Aunt Julie Trondheim, she put a lot of hard work. Thank you. Also for Rebecca Doten, the Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alarcon, she's here. Today's rally is also sponsored by Councilman Alarcon's office. He will be here to speak with us at around 3 o'clock. So if we can get a round of applause for Councilman Alarcon for taking up this important cause. So without further ado, we'll have Mary Beth come up and she can take it from here. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, I just want to say it's a great day to be here, and Sheila Mickelson just said to me, what a great day to celebrate. And it's a little bit of a funny thought to think about celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision. But I thought, you know what, that's a good way to kick off this talk, because what we're celebrating is this growing democracy movement that has coalesced around this decision, where so many people are finally standing up and saying enough is enough. I just read a recent poll that said 90%, close to 90%, 89 point something percent of Americans feel that corporations have too much control over our democracy. So I think we all remember when that would be a conversation that maybe only a few people would sort of get. And I think the great thing about Citizens United, so that what in a sense, or could be the great thing about Citizens United, is maybe this is the tipping point that's going to really wake us up. In fact, it is waking us up to realize that our government has been co-opted by corporate interests for the last 100 years, and it's gotten so much worse in the last 40 years, since the late 70s, and even worse since 2010 with this Supreme Court decision. And that finally we're saying enough is enough, and we're standing up and we're going to take back control of our government. And we're going to stand up and fight for a new level of democracy, so that really we become even more of a nation that is controlled by the 99% by the people, and where we're able to enact policies that serve the best interests of the vast majority instead of the interests of the privileged few. So I think this is a great day, and thank you. And the other thing I wanted to say about this particular anniversary of Citizens United is it marks the beginning of a coalition between two great democracy movements, the one, as I said, that's come together around Citizens United, and also the renewed civil rights movement that has been forming around all of the efforts to suppress the vote. And as I'm sure that everybody here knows, there's been efforts made to make it more difficult for people to vote, for especially minority people, people of elderly, students, with these laws drafted by the American Legislative Exchange Council and this whole sort of coordinated strategy to undermine our democracy. So this day on a national level marks the merging of these two movements into one great, strong democracy movement. And so there are rallies taking place all over the United States in 100 different cities around these two central issues coming together. So that's more progress. And also, to date, I think now multiple states, 125 Congress people, the President of the United States, just recently in the 2012 elections, 2 states through the ballot initiative have gone on record opposing the Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And so this movement that was once called a pipe dream is now really becoming mainstream. So I borrowed that phrase, but it's a good one. Because I remember when we started, actually, going back to this theme of the anniversary of Citizens United, on the first anniversary was the time when Ann Porter, I think I saw her sitting over there, she gave a wonderful workshop on the history of corporate personhood that was sponsored by Move to Amend and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And that's where many of us, including myself, who really started and organized the grassroots effort here in Los Angeles, got our inspiration. And so I want to give a big shout out to Ann, a tireless fighter for justice. There she is over there with the scarf, who has been for years going around and teaching 1 person, 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, the story about how corporations usurped our human rights, starting with the 1886 Supreme Court decision in Southern Pacific Railroad versus, what was it, the SEC, Santa Clara, versus the Southern Pacific Railroad. I'm getting all these cases mixed up. It has nothing to do with the FEC or the SEC, but it did have to do with Southern Pacific Railroad and a huge corporate interest trying to steal our constitutional rights and claim that they applied to corporations. So that day, 2 years ago, we started meeting, and I know that a lot of people, longtime activists, even when we were saying we were meeting around a constitutional amendment, they were like, oh, come on, that's never going to happen. A constitutional amendment, there's got to be I'm sorry, I'm imitating one person. There's got to be another way to do this. In just a very short time, I mean, last year the LA City Council went on record and calling for a constitutional amendment. Now it's going to be given, the voters of Los Angeles are going to have the opportunity to vote directly on it, which is such a more powerful opportunity for us to educate people and to get them to weigh in and wake up about this issue. But it's just spreading like wildfire all across the country. And in fact, our goal, and I don't know if this is possible, but we're formulating plans right now to actually introduce a campaign called Clean by 16, with the idea that maybe we can actually accomplish this by 2016. And I know this is incredibly ambitious, but what it would mean would be installing enough representatives in Congress and the state legislators who are pro getting money out of politics in the 2014 elections, so that we could actually, flip the Congress, have the majority, introduce the amendment, and take the next 2 years to ratify it and actually, get the money out, so that by the next presidential election in 2016, our democracy will no longer be for sale. So that's the goal. We're going to try. We're going to actually sit down and try to figure out, really how we could do that. And we think it's good to have like a goal, even if it turns out that it's clean by 18 or maybe even clean by 20. So I think it was Rocky Anderson that I was pitching this to, and he said, yeah, either clean by 20 or still dirty by 30. But anyway, so we've got slogans lined up if we have to keep pushing that deadline back. But we know that we're going to follow this fight to the very end, and we're not going to settle for any less than the democratic ideal that we were promised as Americans. And, we are going to fight to make that ideal come true again. So thanks, everybody, and we have a great lineup of speakers today, and the first one is Kathy Feng, and Kathy has been an activist and civil rights attorney in California for more than 15 years. Kathy's the executive director of California Common Cause, and she has, yay, Common Cause. She has spearheaded many successful reforms including the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, which had citizens redrawing the state legislative and congressional districts in a fair and an independent manner, and we know that's a real issue all around the country where, you know, these things are drawn in ways that favor whichever party has control over the process. And this has become a model on a federal level. So Kathy has a big distinction in having really taken the lead in that. And most recently, she has won the passage of the new California laws that brought online voter registration and same-day registration to the state. So, you know, definitely getting into the 21st century and with the goal of empowering more citizens to participate in our great democratic process. So here she is, Kathy.
Well, I had this lovely speech written, but apparently all of it was said, so let me rewrite. I want to start with a quote, and it goes like this. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. That was a quote from Martin Luther King so many years ago. And what's amazing is that what he said, I think when you flip that around, is the only way that we can address the problems of racism, materialism, corporatism, right, are if we come together and we stand together as people and we say, no, corporations, you're not the same as human beings, right? And we say to Alec, no, you don't have the right to come into our states and write our laws on behalf of corporations, pretending like you're not a lobbyist, right? Koch brothers, you don't get to fund so-called grassroots groups to come into California and disrupt our elections by trying to screen out Latinos and other minorities and young people and block them from voting. And you don't get to pass voter ID laws throughout the country to try to change our democracy and upturn it so that the people don't have a true vote, right? You don't get to buy the elections. And when all of our voices come together, we can do great things, amazing things. And I think Martin Luther King's quote really was an inspiration to say, when we come together and we go back to that idea of being a person-oriented society and not a thing-oriented society, our country will truly have realized what it means to be a democracy. Okay, that wasn't written down. How about that? So you know the history of Citizens United, you know, bad election, bad decision. It's crazy because it essentially follows 100 years of precedent and then says, goodbye, Supreme Court, forget about the fact that all of these years we've always said that citizen speech, human beings, flesh and blood, when I cut myself I bleed speech, right? That is the speech that we protect. All of a sudden we have a new Supreme Court that comes in and says by a slim margin of 5-4, right, that building on some other obscure parts of law, money equals speech, corporation speech is protected, and therefore we as the people, we can't pass laws now, because of Citizens United, we can't pass laws to regulate corporate spending. And we've seen in 2012 what that means, right? Millions and millions of dollars flooding into elections, trying to essentially buy the election. We saw in California some dark money coming from out of state, trying to influence our ballot initiative process, trying to buy speech, trying to stay out of the public's eye by channeling those $11 million through so-called nonprofits to stay out of the public's eye. But the good news is, just like corporations are a human-constructed fiction, human beings also write the laws, and we can also rewrite our Constitution. Right, and so today we're here to talk about what's possible. And my good colleague, Trent Lang, will talk about the Disclose Act, and other people will talk about laws that are up for decision. One of the big things that Common Cause has been working on is amending the Constitution. And I realize that's crazy talk. You know, every time I think about it, I think, oh my God, when was the last time we amended the Constitution? How is that possible, right? But it's possible because all of these things were just created by us. It's just created by human beings. And once you break that down and you go at it city by city, state by state, and eventually the whole country, we can do it. Right? Here's the amazing thing. Common Cause, our guy up in Sacramento, Derek Pressman, had this crazy idea. He said, why don't we try it? We'll just try it. And we'll just pick 2 states. And he went into Montana and Colorado. And I have no idea why he chose those 2 states, because that didn't seem to me like the most obvious, easiest states to approach. But he said, you know what? If Coloradans and Montanans will stand up for the right of people in and money out, right? Then we send a message to everybody that it's possible anywhere. Right? And here's the crazy thing. In Montana and in Colorado, they passed ballot initiatives that instructed their congresspeople to overturn Citizens United, not by 51%, not by 55%, but by over 75%. Yeah. Right? That is huge! That's huge! What are we going to do in Los Angeles? This should be easy peasy, right? City Council is considering to put an initiative onto the May ballot, right, that would do the same thing, instruct our congressional members to overturn Citizens United by passing a constitutional amendment. That should be easy for us Angelinos, right? And we can do this everywhere. You can go to your local city council member, tell them this is something that I really care about, let the people's voices be heard, let us, our voices, stand out above those that are bought, right? And I think step by step, whether it's Los Angeles or San Jose, San Diego just passed a resolution like this. San Diego, okay? San Francisco, Richmond, Oakland, soon it will be all of California. And when a state that has almost 40% of the entire country's population says no to Citizens United, pass a new constitutional amendment, we're already halfway there. So this is possible, and I totally support clean by 16. That's possible. Maybe even 15. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Will you vote to overturn Citizens United?
Yeah!
And can we amend the Constitution if we stand together?
Yeah!
And can we build a democracy that is based on of the people, by the people, and for the people?
Yeah!
Thank you! Let's work together and make it happen!
Thank you, Kathy. Our next speaker is Trent Lang. He is the Executive Director of the California Clean Money Campaign. He is working on better disclosure and transparency in California elections through the California Disclose Act, which is a state version of the unfortunately failed national bill introduced by Congressman Van Hollen. So if everyone could give it up for Trent Lang.
Hello, everybody. Are we ready to start fighting against Citizens United? Yeah! Well, we all know why it's bad. I'll just say that we all know that money in politics has been a problem since long before Citizens United. It was not exactly a bed of roses before that. The California Clean Money Campaign, my organization, has been working with Common Cause and Legal Win Voters and lots of groups for over 10 years on the problems of money in politics. But Citizens United just made it a whole lot worse by unleashing unlimited corporate spending on campaigns. And when you look at some of the numbers, you already heard some of the numbers, but they're just staggering. Over $1 billion was spent nationally by super PACs in the last election. Over $1 billion. Over $400 million of that was by these secretive nonprofits that never reveal who their donors are, so people have no idea who is attempting to buy their elections. And in California, the problems are even worse, because California, not only do we have to deal with all the candidates, but we have to deal with these very critical ballot measures that make all the difference in the world in the governance of our state. And last year alone, $425 million was spent in California ballot measures. Most of it by groups with good-sounding names like Stop Special Interest Money Now, which had nothing to do with stopping special interest money, of course, and the 2012 Auto Insurance Discounts Act, which sounds great, right? Until you know that it was put on by the chairman of Mercury Insurance, which not everybody knew. So there are many things that we have to do to solve the problem of big money in politics and Citizens United. We say three things we have to first focus on. We have to disclose who the funders are so people aren't fooled by them. We have to provide clean money public financing of campaigns eventually so that new people have a chance to run for office and voters aren't accountable to donors, they're accountable only to the voters. And then we have to amend the Constitution so that the Supreme Court can't mess all those things up. But I'm going to focus right now on the problem of disclosure, that first part. You've already heard Kathy and Mary Beth talk about the great progress that's being moved on the amend front, and that'd be fabulous if we can get clean by 2016. We're looking to try to pass a Disclose Act, the California Disclose Act, this year. And one of the good things about this last election, it's mostly bad things, all the huge amounts of secret money spent in the campaigns, but the good thing is that people now really get that we've got to stop these corporations and billionaires from being able to fool voters by hiding who they are behind these secretive dark money groups. And so now there are already 5 bills in the Sacramento legislature dealing with the problems of disclosure. That's how much interest there are. 4 of those bills are dealing with this nonprofit problem, these fake nonprofits like the Arizona nonprofit that spent $11 million of outside money trying to influence California's elections. That took a California Supreme Court case at the last minute. Common Cause was crucial in getting them to force them to do that along with the FPPC. Last minute Supreme Court case for them to reveal that the money came from 2 other nonprofits from out of state. They still don't know who the real billionaires probably or corporations behind that money were. They still don't know that. So there are 4 good bills in the legislature already by Senators Lou Correa, Ted Lieu, Leland Yee, and Assemblymember Roger Dickinson that would force these nonprofits to have to reveal their funding when they attempt to do things like this Arizona group did. And those are very important bills so that we have real reporting in California, and I urge all of you guys to support those bills. But we have to go a step further than that. We have to make sure that voters, when they see those political ads that they are deluged with, that on those ads they know exactly who is paying for those ads. That's what the California Disclose Act would do. And let me give you an example of how important this was. In 2010, there was a ballot measure called Proposition 26. Any of you remember what Prop 26 did? Probably not. It was a nice, secretive little one, but had an amazing effect. It required a 2/3 vote in the legislature or city councils before they could raise fees, even on polluters. Now, how often do we get 2/3 votes these days in our legislatures or city councils? Never. It passed with 52% of the vote because it was paid for in fine print, if you read the fine print, by a nice-sounding group called Stop Hidden Taxes. Sounds good. Who could possibly be for hidden taxes? Not me. I'm not for hidden taxes. But what the change that we need, what the California Disclose Act will do, is it would have shown who the real funders of that proposition are. What the California Disclose Act will do is require television ads to show their top 3 funders very clearly and prominently on a full screen, big font, black background, no distractions for the full 3 seconds. And for Prop 26 ads, it would have shown top funders for this ad for Yes on 26 are Chevron, the American Beverage Association, and Philip Morris. That's who Stop Hidden Taxes was. Raise your hands if you think that maybe 2% of the voters might have changed their vote if they knew that it wasn't Stop Hidden Taxes, but it was actually Chevron and Philip Morris. Exactly. That's the sort of difference that a real Disclose Act can make. So that's what the Disclose Act does. There's a new bill being introduced, being drafted right now. Last year's bill, AB 1648, authored by the awesome Assemblymember Julia Brownlee, who is now termed out in Congress, where she's going to be fighting for disclosure there. Made it through the Assembly. but it ran out of time to pass the Senate. There's a new bill now, SB 52, being drafted by Senators Mark Leno and Jerry Hill, two very strong authors. We're very happy to see. It will require those TV ads to show the top 3 funders and their logos. It will require radio ads. It will replace that speed reader guy. You know the speed reader guy? Paper by Stop Hidden Taxes, a coalition of employers, tax blah, 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 blah. With the simple language in that case, top funders of this ad are Chevron, American Beverage Association, and Philip Morris. Full funding details at yeson26.com. That's what disclosure and radio ads would be. It would also replace it for those mass mailers that we all get in the mail. It would replace it for online ads, for billboards, the works. It would work for ballot measures and work for independent expenditures. So this would change just about everything here in California, we believe, in terms of stopping voters from being fooled. It is going to have tremendous opposition. It's going to require a 2/3 vote to pass without having to go to the ballot. No surprise, the last bill, Disclose Act, AB 1648, was fiercely opposed by lobbyists from the California Chamber of Commerce and their friends with the manufacturers and pharmaceutical industries. No surprise at all. That's part of the reason why it didn't get all the way through this last year. But there's also a huge and growing movement for the Disclose Act. Over 85,000 people signed petitions urging the legislature to pass the California Disclose Act. And there are petitions being circulated. Please sign those yourself for this new bill, SB 52. Our volunteers are out there with clipboards. Please sign those. And over 350 organizations and leaders endorsed the California Disclose Act, including AB 1640, including Los Angeles City Council last year. We're very happy. Councilman Richard Alarcon was a leader in that also. So we've got to build this coalition. We've got to fight. We're going to be building this year. When you see those clipboards, there's a column on the right-hand side that says March 16th kickoff. And we're having a big kickoff event at the UTLA headquarters on Wilshire Boulevard on March 16th from 2 to 4 p.m., where we're going to try to build as big of a crowd as possible, get as many co-sponsoring groups as possible, and invite the assembly members and senators who are co-authors of the bill to come and speak and get people active. If you can join us at that kickoff on Saturday, March 16th, please do. 2 to 4 p.m., March 16th. Yeah, mark that down. If you circle yes on the petitions when you sign it, then we'll send you an email, we'll give you a reminder of when that is. There's also flyers that you can get either from the table or from our volunteers that will have the information on it there. So we've got a real fight on our hands. This is the first step, because disclosure in itself isn't everything. Obviously, we've got to get public financing campaigns, we've got to amend the Constitution, we have to fix it. But it's a really crucial first step, and it's key for a couple different reasons. The first reason is that if we can stop voters from being fooled into voting for bad propositions or from voting against good propositions, that will make all the difference in the world. Let me give you some examples of the importance in the policy here in California. How many of you know that California is the only oil-producing state in the country that does not have an oil severance tax? So it's crazy. Texas, Alaska, they all have huge oil severance taxes. California is the only one that doesn't. Why is that? Oil companies, right? There actually was a proposition in 2006, Prop 87, that would have provided an oil severance tax. Some of you may remember that. Some of you may have even worked on on that campaign. It would have provided extra money for clean energy investments. It was overwhelmingly popular in the polls with the voters. And then, of course, the tens of millions of dollars of ads by a group called Californians Against Higher Taxes came against it, and it ended up losing. And that was, of course, Chevron, Urea Energy, and Occidental Oil and Gas. That's what the voters would have seen if the Disclose Act was in place. I guarantee you, we would have had an oil severance tax if that was in place. Prescription drug discounts, supported by consumer groups, were put on the ballot in 2005, Prop 79, also overwhelmingly popular in the polls. Nobody can afford prescription drugs in California. They're so crazily expensive. This proposition would have really changed that. Overwhelming support, supported by all the consumer groups, flooded with $123 million by a group called Californians Against Out-of-Control Taxes and Spending. And it was, of course, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and Pfizer. Do you think that might have made a difference? Might we be more likely to have lower prescription drug costs here in California if there was a California Disclosure Act? Absolutely. So those are the sorts of examples that we have. And we also, if we have a Disclose Act passed, if we have SB 52 passed, then we'll have politicians who don't have to be afraid that they're going to be attacked anonymously by secretive groups, because people will know where that money's coming from. They won't be beholden to them. People won't be fooled into voting for bad politicians who are supported by these big money special interests. So for all those reasons, the Disclose Act in itself is super important. But it's also going to be super important as one of the 3 steps in overturning Citizens United and big money in politics. Because when people see all those ads that they're deluged with, time after time, they see the same corporations and billionaires paying for all those ads they're disclosed with, they are going to get even more disgusted and more aware and more demanding that we change Citizens United and overturn the effects of big money in politics. So it's a key step. We need to disclose that as the first step to it. I urge you to help volunteer. Then we work for public financing and overturning the amendment so we have a government that's of, by, and for the people. Thank you very much. Join us, sign those petitions, and help us volunteer. It's the only way we'll get it passed.
So, Trent also spoke at our conference, the Money Out Voters In Coalition Conference at UCLA a while back, and he alluded to the schism in this movement between legislative and constitutional solutions. I think that a lot of us have ideas about how this should go forward, whether or not it's baby steps or bombshells. And I really do believe, though, that the work that Trent is doing is very important in building a grassroots movement and pushing forward those bigger, large-scale changes. We're not going to be able to get something, the scale, a project the scale of amending the Constitution done without doing the hard work of building the movement at the grassroots level. So, please find the petition for the California Disclose Act and support some of these legislative solutions, because at the very least it will make people more aware of this issue. It is not particularly a sexy issue for most people, so we do have to put in the work and really connect with people in a way that they understand it. So kudos to you, Trent. Thank you.
It's a real Citizens United around the floor.
I'm here collecting signatures for the California Disclose Act, which will require the top 3 funders of political campaign ads to be disclosed on the actual ad itself to prevent people like Monsanto from affecting Prop 37 and not getting the GMO labeling passed.
Hi, I'm here primarily to get money out of politics. I think that the corrupting influence that money has had on our democracy has really eroded it, and I think there's a lot of ways we can attack this issue. The Disclose Act is one of them, but I'm also here with the coalition that's looking at other solutions such as an amendment to the Constitution or legislative actions, and I think it's the most important issue facing our democracy today.
I'm with a group called 99 Rise, and we have been working to build a movement of folks who are willing to make deep personal sacrifices and actually risk arrest to bring attention to the corruption of our democracy by big money. We are right now working on a pledge where we're asking other folks who are equally as disgusted and fed up with politics as usual to pledge to be one of 10,000 people that will put their bodies on the line when and only when we have 9,999 other folks who are ready to do so. That would be the biggest act of civil disobedience in American history, and it would really create the political crisis necessary to force our elected officials to actually move on this issue. Right now, corruption is so entrenched that we can't count on the regular political process to pass the necessary constitutional amendment to really address this sort of cancer in our democracy. So we're here to support this action, bring attention to the corruption and Citizens United and the real harm it's done to our democracy, and also to try to talk to people about this future action.
Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, they get so much resistance from behind. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
I live in Sherman Oaks, and I am here because I want to overturn Citizens United. I think it's about time, and I want to get money out of politics, and I'm angry about it because we're not represented anymore. I am so livid about the fact that we're not being represented anymore in our politics, that it's got to change. I believe that unless things change, we're going to go extinct as a species, because now that the ballot initiative for GMOs didn't pass, that, you know, it's scary to think what they're doing to us, and everything in the voter information guide to get GMOs labeled was propaganda put forth by Monsanto, and things like that can't happen in the future. Not in my timeline. I'm going to do anything I can do about it to get that to be stopped, because we need to think about our children. We need to think about the future of this planet, and I'm here because I want to show my support, and we should all get involved. I'm here because I want to find out what I can say and what I can do to explain to my friends what's really going on, because they don't know. When I tell them it's Citizens United, they think, oh, that sounds good. All the citizens are going to be united. But then when I explain to them that's not what it means, they're aghast. They can't believe that could really be happening. I mean, it's so far over their heads. We need to create so much public awareness so yeah, that's how I feel. So thank you.
I live in Los Angeles. Why are you here? I'm here because I hate corporations and I love people. Why are you angry about? I'm angry about the whole political system. It's corrupt. What do you want? We want freedom. We want peace and freedom and less corruption in government.
My name is Anne. I live here in Los Angeles in the Northeast. I came here to be with other people who care about this issue. I'm angry about the way we've been lied to, and about our whole history. I could have been taught about this whole dishonest way that that corporations got constitutional rights over 100 years ago when I was taking history in school, but instead I had to memorize all these dates that I don't remember anymore. And what I want is to help grow this democracy movement and help contribute to this effort to take back the power to the people and end corporate rule.
Montrose, California, and I'm here because I'm concerned about how to get money out of politics, and that's what I'm angry about, that money is buying our democracy, and I want a constitutional amendment to the Constitution to get money out of politics.
I live in Hollywood, and I'm here today to learn more about Citizens United and to get more information on what we need to do to bring money out of politics. And
What I'm angry about is all of the destruction that I see going around in the world due to the corporations having all of the power. And what do I want? What I really want is to stop all of the wars and violence that is happening because of the greed of corporations and individuals.
I believe when the makers of our Constitution were talking about democracy, they were talking about a compassionate democracy, a democracy that cared about things other than just profit. Imagine if every individual made every decision when they went into the polls based on whether they thought they were going to make more money about it. Well, if that's what we're going to do, then give us that power. And give us some money, too. But the truth is, that is not what was intended by our Constitution. Those 5 justices blew it. They are un-American as anybody who's ever fought against America. Council, I spoke about the death of our democracy. But I believe we can rise again because I do believe in the people of the United States. And that's not to say we will always agree. 20 years in this building as a councilman, I'll tell you, we will not agree all the time, and usually we fight. But in that process, we have created an opportunity for people to rise above whatever dilemmas they are facing. And again, it's an imperfect union. So I am so pleased to see you here. I wish we could be bulging at the seams, bulging at the sidewalks with people. But the fact of the matter is, we need to educate people. And that is our challenge. Now, it's one thing to get this on the ballot. And I believe it can succeed, but it's another thing for people to truly understand it. I don't want people to walk in and say, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I want them to say, where is that measure? Because I want to fight for our democracy. Yeah. And then I want them to take action beyond that to make sure that this is an amendment to our Constitution that protects the next generation of folks and beyond. Yeah. That's what we're fighting for here. Let's not kid ourselves. This is not a Democratic-Republican challenge. This is America's fundamental democracy against corporate interests. I am simply one who has been challenging corporate interests since I got to office, even before. And that's not to say I'm anti-corporation per se. I believe that you can have a capitalist society with corporations in it. I know some of you will disagree. That's okay. But I believe they need to be strongly regulated with strong enforcement. Because what is the root of all evil is the greed that diminishes the quality of life in our communities. What direction would they lead us into? Who led us into the foreclosure crisis, if not corporate interests? We cannot let the corporatists take over. We have to know that these interests have been moving in this direction for many, many years. Citizens United was not a dramatic shift. It was not a dramatic shift. It has been accruing over time. And so our battle is not a singular battle to get an amendment. But in fact, we have to do the hard work to undo that progressive undermining of our democracy. And that's going to take a lot of time. So I have one question to you. Are you committed to fighting for our democracy?
Yes!
Yeah. Not just today, not when this goes on the ballot, but far beyond until we go into the polls, because that is the commitment that we have to make. To stand it for the next generation so that all can have health care, so that all can benefit from our society, so that we can truly find a middle-class society for even the least among us. That's what our challenge is. And so I want to say thank you to all the interested parties. I especially want to give a shout out to Angelique for coming to us and asking us to put this together. She gave it to us the next day. I approved it. And the next week we introduced it into council, and as soon as we got back from recess, it was approved. And I believe that that's the will of the people. when this measure goes on the ballot. But again, our challenge is beyond that. So I stand with you. I thank you for coming out. I do want to thank Councilmember Garcetti and Rosendahl for introducing the resolution that the council has already approved. I anticipate, again, that this measure will go on the ballot and we will win this battle. But this is not the war. This is a battle. And so we have many battles coming forward. So thank you again. I hope to see all of you on Election Day celebrating someplace, whether it be here, whether it be in a tent downtown, wherever it may be. But in our own way, we are connected. Let's continue to fight. Thank you.
The work for the ballot initiative doesn't stop here. It didn't end on Wednesday. They are drafting the initiative. It will be put forth to another vote once it's drafted at City Hall. So if anybody can show up to that, we'd greatly appreciate it. We need to keep the momentum going and make sure that we get the voter turnout to keep Councilman Alarcon's hard work going forward. So I hope that all of you can commit to doing something to educate your fellow voters and really turn out the electorate in May, okay? So our next speaker is Jimmy Dore. He is a comedian and host of the Jimmy Dore Show, originating on 90.7 KPFK and also airing on the Young Turks Network. Please give it up for Jimmy Dore. Woo!
Okay, well, we're all committed to this. You know, I was just at the Wolfpack is also an organization that tries to get money out of politics. I was just at a fundraiser for Wolfpack, and the irony on them was lost that in order to get money out of politics, we had to raise a shitload of money. It's kind of like, we're going to cure cancer, but first we got to sell all these cigarettes. All right. So you see the debate that's happening in the country right now, and you can tell who has a lobbyist and who doesn't. Right? They say, well, we have to balance the budget, but we have to do it in a balanced approach. And a balanced approach right now in America means adding 2% imperceptible tax to the top earners in this country that will affect their life zero. And then also to balance that, we have to make it harder for your grandmother to see a doctor. That's considered balance in America. And you say, well, who, you know, because we are in such a big hole. How are we going to get out of this hole unless we push some old people in it? Yes. We've got to cut Social Security. And I'm like, well, I thought we're the richest country in the world where all our money go, right? Because they keep telling us, John Boehner says we're broke. Barack Obama says we have to tighten our belt. Chris Christie tells us we have to tighten our belts, which is kind of ironic. And so I'm like, wait a minute, we're the richest country in the world where all our money goes. So I turn on the news, and the corporate news guy told me the teachers took all our money. It's not the wars, not the banks, it's not the corporations outsourcing jobs, it's those goddamn money-grubbing teachers. I knew it, yeah. And they're evil thug unions. I say we give them guns. And then we negotiate their contract. Yes. It's the teachers that are taking all our money, but they're so sneaky, they still drive junky cars just to throw us off. There goes another teacher taking a sack of money out to their tercel. These teachers, I hate them. And I'm like, why are we laying off? And now we're laying off teachers. We're laying off teachers because we have to save money. Right? Because that's what's going to get us out of this depression. Fucking dumber kids. That's our problem right now. We're too smart in America. How are we going to convince China to open a factory here if our kids are smart enough to know they're being exploited like slaves? That joke's funny and sad. Have you gotten the new iPad mini? Not me. All right. But then, and where's our... So why are we firing teachers? We have to save money. Like, well, can't we fire something else? Can't we fire this war in Afghanistan that absolutely nobody wants anymore? No, we can't, because the war in Afghanistan has a lobbyist, right, from Boeing and from Halliburton. But Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, they don't have a lobbyist. right? So that's the difference, right? We can't lay off that war. We've got to have the war, right? You got to have the war, right? And you can't have wars and teachers. What are you, assholes? You got to choose what you want, and we said we wanted the wars, which we can't even afford the war either, right? We have to borrow the money from the Chinese, and they give it to us because they're nice people. That's kind of ironic. We're a bunch of capitalists borrowing money from a bunch of communists so we can bring democracy to a bunch of Muslims who don't even want it. Happy 4th of July. So who is running the country? Well, the banks are running the country, right now, pretty much. Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, said this about Social Security recently. We're going to have to lower people's expectations about the entitlements and what people think they're going to get because they're not going to get it. Social Security wasn't devised to be a system that supported you for a 30-year retirement after a 25-year career. That's what Lloyd Blankfein. Wow, well, it turns out having all the money in the world doesn't build character. I don't blame them for being annoyed. Those deadbeats who spent their whole lives just scraping by want to retire on money that belongs to hardworking billionaires. Let me just say this about Wall Street, and we're still giving Wall Street money, by the way. We have to fire teachers. You got to take a cut in your Social Security and Medicare. We've got endless money for the banks, quantitative easing, that's called. That's when they ease all the taxpayer money into the bank's accounts at $40 billion a month. But we're still broke. I don't get it. Let me just say this, and this might sound indelicate, but if I could screw my wife half as good as Wall Street has screwed our economy, I wouldn't have to go through her emails. So money has not only completely corrupted the Republican Party, but pretty much the Democratic Party too, right? So what's the effect of having money in politics? Well, when we elect a liberal president, we're left with DNC strategists who ask Democrats to rally around a health care plan that originated at the Heritage Foundation, was initiated by Mitt Romney, and designed to subsidize the insurance industry and shackling the Americans to the health care profiteers forever. So we got to get the money out because it corrupts everybody, even the news media, right? So the guys who bought government then went ahead and bought the news media because now nobody's going to get investigated, right? So, right, and it leads to stuff like this, like Tom Brokaw was talking about Social Security. Tom Brokaw is a great newsman, and you can tell he's a great newsman because he wears a pocket kerchief. How else are you going to get the real stuff on the street unless you have a kerchief to wipe all the bullshit off you? And he has a deep understanding of this country after years of flying over in his private jet. He said we're all going to be expected to make sacrifices. That's what he said about Social Security. We're all going to have to make sacrifices. And on the bright side, none of my rich friends will feel a goddamn thing. He didn't say that last part. Maria Bartiromo said this recently on Meet the Press, or as I like to call it, Press the Meat. When it comes to spending cuts, 2 points are clear. Number one, Americans realize that the three biggest drivers of our debt are Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And I say, yes, Maria, especially those Americans who don't know a goddamn thing about Social Security. Because Social Security doesn't add 1 penny to the deficit, never has, never will. Okay, but Social Security doesn't have a lobbyist. But the people in charge of the military-industrial complex in Wall Street, they have Maria Bartiromo, the minor bird of Wall Street, to repeat their talking points for them. And, hey, what if she actually knew what she was talking about, what would she be doing on MSNBC in the first place? All right, here we go. I meant to say CNBC, but it's all the same thing. My brother's a good guy, but he worries about funny things. He makes about $50,000 a year, and he worries about the estate tax. I'll explain. One day I'm at my brother's house out of nowhere. He goes, hey, Jimmy, we got to get rid of that estate tax. I'm like, sure, Danny, what the hell are you talking about? He says, that's the tax if you die and you have millions of dollars. The government just takes half of it. They just take it. I was like, that's horrible. Let me know when that becomes a problem. And I'll organize a rally. But until then, maybe you should turn off your AM radio and get invited to your own life, okay? So I'm pretty sure estates don't have 2 cars that don't work on the front lawn. Maybe you should start worrying about the t-shirt tax at Walmart, okay? Okay. And it's just weird to see in a down economy. But what we're left with now are politicians very rarely really relate to normal people, and they have to pretend like they do. Like, if it wasn't for a couple of Southern senators talking about how rape was cool, we might have had Mitt Romney as our president. And Mitt Romney, and by the way, no, that's not. That rape thing, it is true. I went to the same medical school as Murdoch and Aiken behind the 7-Eleven on Hollywood Boulevard. And women can't get pregnant. That goes not just for them, but all species of animals. I remember when I was a kid, Bob Barker used to end every show by saying, "Make sure your pets don't get impregnated, have them spayed, neutered, or raped." Remember he would say that? It's tough to make rape funny, but I did it. All right, here we go. So, what's I going to end with? Oh, Mitt Romney. So we're left with these millionaire and billionaire politicians who have to pretend they're regular people. Like at the Republican convention, Ann Romney gave a speech talking about how they weren't always rich. She said, you know, when we were in college, we lived in a basement apartment with nothing to live on except our love for each other and Mitt's trust fund. There were days we didn't know where our next Cadillac was coming from. And then she said, she goes, I bought Mitt Romney, I bought Mitt a 3-pack of shirts from Costco. He loves them. Oh, that's great. It'll go perfect with his handmade Italian and everything else. All right. What should we do? We got to get money out of politics. We got to vote back city councilman. What was that city councilman's name? What is your name? Alice, I don't mean to be rude that I don't know your name, but I smoked a lot of pot this morning. And that's the power of the ballot box right there. Medical marijuana, ladies and gentlemen. It works. Anyway, all right, so let's just, let's give, hey, how about a hand for Lauren for putting this all together? Thanks for having me. I'll see you guys tonight.
Anytime you get a chance to see him at any of the clubs around town, you should definitely go. It's definitely worth your money. The Improv, he's regularly there. And tune into his show on Thursdays. Hey, Jimmy, what time is your show on Thursday on KPFK?
Fridays at 3 when you get a podcast. Just go to
Fridays at 3.
Fridays at 3
Sorry.
on KPFK.
Fridays at 3 on KPFK.
My name is Jack Biandello. I live in Pasadena, California. I'm a retired electrician, local 38, IABW. Anyway, I'm here because I want to support getting money out of politics. Also, here I'm angry. What am I angry about? Well, I'm really not angry, but I'm just kind of confused. And now that we have the middle class is 400,000, we should have them pay the Social Security tax until they get to 400,000. So that'll help us out a lot. And what do I want? I want the people to bring the jobs back to America, stop sending our jobs to China, change the trade laws, and start paying taxes. Everybody should pay taxes, and not just the poor people and the middle class. The rich people should help us out. They can do it.
And law's a word, and word is bond, and that's spoken. Like the we're challenging the 1%. Hey, repeat after me. Get money. Politics out of politics. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for being here. My name is Guido. This is Emma. We're student organizers with 99 Rise. And as David mentioned via Lauren, we are building the movement, waging nonviolent struggle to get big money out of politics. Just this past fall, during the most expensive election in American history, we had young people go to Wall Street banks, sit in, say, we demand that you disclose all of your secret political spending. I got Lewis Preston, I got Jordan, Devin, Kai. Raise your hands. These people went to jail. These people went to jail just for demanding that Wall Street banks should be transparent about their political spending. They went to jail for that. That's disgraceful. That's disgraceful. as you know, the struggle continues. I want to introduce a good friend and a great organizer who's been building this movement, Emma Gertsch.
I'm 18 years old. I go to Occidental College. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm here because I'm tired of feeling broken by a powerfully funded political system. This is not an abstract issue. It touches each and every one of us. It pains each and every one of us. And we're here because we struggle. My family, my friends, the people I love have been hurt by this system, have been hurt by a system that is not responsive to the needs of the 99%. I was raised by my father, who was broken by a war in Vietnam, whose pain I see every day, and that pain pains me too. I'm tired of seeing young people going to war, being broken by the same system today, the same military-industrial complex today that hurt my father 50 years ago. I was raised by my mother, who has a PhD and not only suffers discrimination because of her gender in her medical profession, but also with her PhD strained to get me a college education, something that every person should have a right to. I'm tired of seeing that injustice. I grew up loving my mother's two dads, believing that their love was just as deep as my mom and dad's, as your mom and dad's. I'm tired of the powerful money of the religious right telling me that they're sick, that they aren't fit to be my grandparents. I'm tired of that injustice. My best friend, who helped me get through a terrible period of depression when I was in high school, who inspired me with her love, with her action and power. Her house was foreclosed on in her first year in college, and she had to drop out. I'm tired of seeing people fail because a powerful system of money is investing in seeing them fail. I'm tired of seeing people fail like my best friend, like my friends, with all their love and their intelligence and their potential. I'm tired of seeing that injustice. Our generation was told that we could vote and have our voices heard. We were told to go to college, get a job, and the American dream would happen for us. But our voices are being silenced by a new era of corporate domination. The American dream has been stolen from young people in this country, from everyone in this country, by big money and politics. Growing up, I saw that injustice. I felt that struggle. I felt that pain. But I felt powerless. I felt hopeless. I didn't think that I had the power to change things. But as I entered college last year, having no experience with social justice or organizing or anything, I made the choice to turn my pain, my anger, and my sadness into action. Last year I joined 99 Rise and the movement of the 99% to get money out of politics. And I don't have to feel broken anymore. I don't have to feel hopeless anymore. I know that this movement is the answer to the trials that I and so many others have endured under the system of corporate domination. I'm standing with 99 Rise, and I ask you to stand with me. I ask you to be here with my pain. I ask you to feel your pain, because I know you have it. I know we've been hurt. I know you had struggles under this unjust system that does not represent us. I ask you to take that and turn it into action with me. With 99 Rise, we're taking to the streets and unleashing waves of mass nonviolent civil disobedience. We are the voice of the 99% saying we will not be silenced. I believe that we're part of something big. I believe that winning this will mean big changes. Whether it's foreclosure reform so my best friend can have a house, whether it's education reform so I and so many people like me can claim that education as a right, whether it's gay rights for my grandparents, women's rights, health care, or taking action to save our planet, you name it. Coming together and rising up to reclaim democracy and the American dream for the people, for the 99%, will be the ultimate victory. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm asking you to be here with me. So I put my body on the line for democracy.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves about how high the stakes are in this fight. This is not an abstract issue. This is not an abstract issue. The people that we love, Emma's family, my family, have been affected by this. Okay, the world we want, the world we need, we cannot win when we have a democracy of, by, and for the 1%. Okay, we cannot avert another financial crisis when bankers dine regularly at the White House and their armies of lobbyists destroy Dodd-Frank and wreck every chance at good regulation. We cannot end the disgraceful war on drugs that has imprisoned so many young men of color in this country when ALEC and private prison corporations conspire to imprison more immigrants for profit. Okay? We cannot create more jobs when corporate front groups like Fix the Debt embed themselves in fiscal cliff negotiations to intentionally drive us off the cliff and cut entitlements. But worst of all, brothers and sisters, most troubling, most frightening is climate change. I want to be very, very clear about this, brothers and sisters. Mother Nature will not wait for us to get big money out of politics. The climate will not wait. If fossil fuel lobbyists continue to destroy every chance we have at passing climate legislation, they will burn all the coal, they will frack all the land, and we will face an unimaginable crisis on this earth that we so dearly love. Please join us and fight. Do not let them drive us to the brink, all right? And I know it seems far off. I know it seems far off. But when 4 students got arrested at a lunch counter in Greensboro in 1960, nobody knew that civil rights legislation was only 4 years away. Nobody knew that. We never know when the moment of victory will be upon us. But we have faith that if we keep fighting, it will come. So like Jordan, like Devin, like Lewis, like Kai, you got to organize, educate, agitate, sit in, hunger strike, do what you can, join the movement. We have a table back there, we have a pledge of resistance that we're building to get 10,000 Americans to commit to the largest civil disobedience in American history. 10,000 Americans at Congress and corporations saying, we want to get money out of politics. And we'll build that 10,000 whether it takes a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years. We'll get there. All right? Are you fired up? Yeah. All right, show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Solidarity forever!
Passionate, but let me add to that, like, extremely inspirational and talented. Our next speaker is David DeGraw. He is famous for his work with the Occupy movement as an activist and as an author. So please give it up for David DeGraw.
Thank you all very much. I just kind of dive bomb this event. Just really give thanks to everyone. I'm honored to get the mic for a few minutes here. You guys have been working so hard on the defining issue of our time. And a group like 99 Rise has come along and really inspired me. And when Occupy was starting and we were planning it, a lot of people don't care about this and will tell me to shut up. But the 99% before Occupy was built on getting money out of politics. That was the issue we were all rallying around. And that was the issue that we intended to be our one demand. And obviously that didn't happen. Sometimes I still wake up in night terror wishing that it did happen because I think we could have advanced it much more than we did. But Occupy was about something much bigger. It was about collective consciousness developing, empowering a new generation. And 99 Rise embodies that to become leaders, to become active. And it's just been amazing, the groundswell. There's a tsunami of transformation that is sweeping across the planet right now. And it may not be happening as fast as we all want it to, and it's all incredibly diffuse right now. But it is going to come together just like it did through Occupy. Occupy I see as the first cohesive expression of this new collective consciousness that has grown out of the internet. Modern power is built on manipulation and deceit. And with the internet, more and more people are becoming aware of their own power, of how corruption, of how the corrupting influence of money in politics affects things. Both political parties will soon be swept into the dustbin of history. I'm quite convinced. people are going to the internet and becoming so aware and organizing on a level that's unprecedented in human history. And, you know, we don't all quite grasp that, I don't think. I mean, 2011, you know, everyone talks about the Occupy movement and starting in Zuccotti, but really it started in Tunisia and Egypt. And there was all that organizing that went on. And then it went to Europe and, you know, Madrid, Spain, famously, before hopping the Atlantic and eventually coming into the United States and coming here. I mean, it was very significantly here in LA. This is the first time I've been here since the camp you know, was open and running and thriving. And it's a little sad to be here seeing this beautiful lawn, this harbor. But, you know, I've been operating behind the scenes for the past month, working intensively, strategizing new ways we can come back. And I'm just really grateful for everyone who's been continuing the fight on the front lines. I mean, you guys at 99 Rise, getting arrested, going into the banks on Wall Street, I mean, you guys have totally inspired me. You know, this is such an uphill battle. I mean, everyone here knows it. And there's times where you get depressed and down that stuff is not changing fast enough. And then right at the time that I was depressed and down is when you guys went and got arrested. So, I mean, you totally inspired me and reignited my interest. But I just want to say thank you to everybody. Getting money out of politics is truly the defining issue of our time. You know, all the different issues that Occupy has addressed, you peel back the layers, it all comes back to the corrupting influence of money in politics. So I want to thank everyone for showing up. I want to thank you all for focusing on this issue, because this is the linchpin issue.
Speakers, all of our great musical performances, Jimmy for his comedic speech. Jimmy Dore was pretty fucking funny, right? So, sorry, I'm a little lady libertine for a reason. But anyway, Mary Beth is going to come up and give some closing remarks, so welcome back to Mary Beth.
I just, again, want to thank all the speakers. I think it's been a great lineup, and thank you, Lauren, and the team that put this day together. And I guess I just wanted to say that, you know, the second part of our coalition's name, it's Money Out, Voters In. And the Voters In part, I just wanted to talk, I wanted first of all to acknowledge that at the same time that we're here today, the memorial service for Aaron Swartz is going on in New York City. And I think that just, you know, I won't go into the story. I think everybody knows it about how the federal government or the state of Massachusetts really hounded him to his untimely death. But just when we take the time to reflect on something like the death of somebody, especially who was so idealistic and did so much good, brought so much good into this world, I think it really connects us with the fact that all of us who are out here fighting for this, we're all idealists. We all have something, it's basically love in our hearts. It's a vision of a better world. A world where people take care of each other, where people don't have to mortgage their futures in order to get educated and to fulfill their potential. A world where people don't have to die because they don't have the money to pay for medical treatment. The list goes on and on. But I think that I'm sure I'm not alone when I say that what really motivates me is a beautiful vision inside of another kind of a world. Right. So I think we have to all remember that and keep that vision alive. And I know that we've made a lot of progress, but we're, you know, I just see this whole movement is really going to be a sea change. And that if we keep at it, that we are really going to create a different kind of world. And even if we have to weather the, you know, climate change and the things we can't turn back, but we're going to have a stronger democracy and a more humane, loving, and compassionate world. And that's really what all of this is about. So I just wanted to leave everybody with that thought. And then on a logistical level, I also wanted to point out that, you know, the next step forward, there's the first thing is the Money Out, Voters In coalition in Los Angeles, which is a whole lot of groups working together to advance the cause and to organize, especially around the May ballot initiative. There's a sign-up sheet up here at this table, so please sign up for that. There's also Jacqueline West there, hold your hand up. She's organizing with the American Anti-Corruption Act, which is a comprehensive piece of legislation. They're trying to collect 1 million signatures so that when it's introduced in the spring, there'll be 1 million Americans who are co-signers introducing the legislation. They've got 350 signatures, 1,000 signatures so far. So they're a third of the way. So and there's Money Out, Voters In. American Anti-Corruption Act, the Disclose Act in the back, and then there's also the Yes We Can Democratic Club. Is there something I'm forgetting? 99 Rise. Okay, I'm so sorry. So there's 99 Rise, so go, let's all sign up if you haven't already to become one of those 10,000 people who are going to go take to the streets. When we have 10,000, then we're going to take to the streets and we're going to make a big statement. So there's a lot that you can do going forward, and I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and it really is an honor. So,
for those of you that don't want to go home at this church right now, there's a big environmental rally going on.
The provisions of what they're working. It's pretty comprehensive legislation. It was written by Trevor Potter, the former chairman of the SEC under Bush 1. And I don't know if you've heard of Lawrence Lessig.
He's the one that wrote this act?
He was one of the ones that drafted it, yeah. And also Lawrence Lessig, he's a Harvard professor. He's written a couple of books on the subject of campaign finance reform and proposing an amendment. He has a book called Republic Lost.
My name is Jaime Casillas. I'm from the West Side. Grew up in West Los Angeles, Venice, Santa Monica. I'm here because I think the vital issue for our country to survive is to get money out of politics. It's the #1 issue, along with the ecology. So pick one. Ecology is definitely a vital issue happening now for the future of our planet. And a good start is to get money out of politics, because the corporate greed has just ruined everything about this country.
I live in West LA. I'm here because I deeply believe that the Citizens United decision 3 years ago was a way to sell our democracy to the highest bidder. I'm angry about that. I'm angry about the 1% not caring enough about the country until the last tree falls, the last bird sings, and we've lost it all. I'm here to try to make a change for that.
So the American Anti-Corruption Act is a comprehensive piece of legislation that was crafted by Lawrence Lessig, had input into it, Trevor Potter, and a number of other people, and it addresses the whole issue of money in politics at a legislative level, specifically dealing with the influence industry and closing the revolving door, issues of disclosure, issues of enforcement, and the strategy is that they're collecting signatures. They want to get 1 million citizen co-sponsors, and so far they have 350,000, and as soon as they hit the 1 million, it's going to be introduced with a left-right coalition of elected officials, hopefully in the spring. And so, along with the constitutional amendment, it'll go a long way to getting money out of politics. So that's kind of from the legislative standpoint. And the amendment campaign is about, amending the Constitution to clearly establish that we have the right to regulate our elections, and that corporations don't have the same rights as human beings. Yeah, the link to go for the American Anti-Corruption Act is represent.us. Represent.us. So go to represent.us, sign up to become a citizen co-sponsor, and so we can get to that 1 million, and we can get it introduced and start working towards that, as well as working towards the amendment.
Well, I'm here at 99 Rise, 99rise.org, if you want the link, and we're committed to doing nonviolent action, doing civil disobedience, sitting in, coming to rallies like this to get money out of politics, and end the sort of era of corporate domination that has been brought on by a history of decisions and regulation, or lack of regulation, but especially Citizens United. And yeah, we want to put power back in the hands of the people and not corporations.
Well, very briefly, the world literally will face climate apocalypse if the fossil fuel industry burns all of the coal and gas that they currently own. And we know how to solve climate change. We know the science about what needs to be done in terms of restructuring the economy so that it's sustainable. but we can't win any of that legislation while fossil fuel lobbyists buy and control politicians. So to literally save the planet, we need to get big money out of politics.
And as far as getting big money out of politics goes, there's a lot of different ways to do it, so it's important to have a lot of people getting together and working on these ideas, talking about amendments, talking about legislation. In the future we've got some big decisions to make about how we want to accomplish getting big money out, and these type of meetings, getting people together and getting people talking are the only way that we're going to have a chance at making a cohesive attempt at getting money out. So, thanks for being here as well.
Hi, my name's Alex Stevens. I'm an organizer of 99 Rise. I live in Echo Park, and I'm here today with the Money Out Voters In Coalition because I think it's clear that across the board, every sort of major problem, every crisis that we are facing in the United States, none of them will actually be solved so long as Congress and politicians are beholden to a small economic elite. And so that's why me and others from 99 Rise have been holding sit-ins at Wall Street banks during the most expensive election year in history to raise awareness around all the unlimited dark money that's been flooding into the election, calling on them to disclose. They didn't do it, and they've arrested a whole bunch of us. And we hope to unleash more and more waves of mass, nonviolent direct action and civil disobedience to change the political dynamic in the United States and to get big money out of politics.
I'm Trent Lang, the president of the California Clean Money Campaign. We're the sponsors of SB 52, the California Disclose Act. We had just a fabulous event here with lots of great speakers on the 3rd anniversary of Citizens United, to all the people coming out to make sure that we defeat the power of big money, overturn that ridiculous Citizens United decision, talking about all the different ways that that can be done. There's many ways that that can be done. Eventually we need to get a constitutional amendment to overturn it. Eventually we need public financing of campaigns so that new candidates can run for office who have good ideas but who can't afford to run today. And also talking about an immediate thing that people can do, and that is help pass SB 52, the California Disclose Act, so that political ads have to show who really pays for them. Lots of ways that people can help. There's an exciting group of people out here. People can go on to our website at www.cadisclose.org, cadisclose.org, and sign the petition for the California Disclose Act, and respond to emails and get active, because people have more power to influence politics than they understand. If they go out there and they call their legislators and urge them to pass the Disclose Act and do other things to get big money out of politics, and talk to their neighbors and get involved, you can have a real impact on it, because not enough people get involved, so that means that politicians really pay attention to the ones that do. So everybody get involved, help us overturn Citizens United, help us pass SB 52, the California Disclose Act, and eventually get a constitutional amendment to drive the dominating influence of big money out of politics.